Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to another day of the 18th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Hales. I'm your moderator. Uh, Keep in mind this year we're sponsored by the Journal of Educators Online. They have some great refereed articles. If you go to thejeo.com, you can browse through what they have. So we have with us today Jeremy Rentz. He is a Chance Distinguished Professor of Environmental Engineering at Trine University. Uh, he's been with us several times, more than just twice, isn't it? Several times.
Maybe 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are glad to have him back. He always has good stuff for us. Today he's going to talk about timeless teaching, modern challenges, ensuring learning in the AI age. Jeremy, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you again, Bob, for having us back. We really appreciate it. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about something that I've been doing for about a year. So this is a conversation that started with my vice president for academic affairs. He's now our president, who's just selected as our next president. And he asked me a very important question one day when I showed up to campus. He said, how do we make sure that our students are earning the degrees that we confer? This conversation had come up apparently with our board, and he was concerned that AI might be doing too much of the work that our students are taking credit for, and I assured him there are things that we can do, and essentially this session is built out of that conversation. And then hopefully you see things today that are things you are doing, things you have always done. Um, Hopefully I do nothing today but help remind you that all of the good things that we've been doing for the last however many years in education still work. We just have to make sure we apply them in the correct ways. And that'll be the conversation that we're going to try to have today. And thank you for everybody being here live. And for those of you that are going to watch this on video, there will be plenty of opportunities for you to pause and stop and reflect. And I'll make sure I let you know when those opportunities are. To get started today, there is a handout. You don't need it to follow along, but it does have some resources. I will flash this URL and the QR code on the last slide as well. Again, you don't need it to follow along, but if you'd like to take advantage of some of those resources, it has a link for the slides and it has a link for several additional resources that you might want to use after you're done watching. Thank you again. I'd like to start in an interesting place. I really love the work of James Lang. He's got several great books out there, Small Teaching, Distracted Students. But the one I want to start with is Cheating Lessons. This book is more than 10 years old, but Jim comes up with 4 reasons why students cheat. And I think when I go through these, you're going to find these are 4 reasons that students might use AI in your classes. And I really like to start here because when it comes to making sure students are doing the learning, I always try to make sure I turn the mirror back on the faculty. I want to make sure that we all reflect on what we're doing. If we want to see change, we need to be the ones that orchestrate that change. And we'll come back to that slide here in a little bit. But Jim's got 4 conclusions from his book, and I'd really like to hammer home that I think they apply now more than ever. So first, he found that students tend to cheat when the stakes on whatever it is happens to be too high. When there's just one exam for the semester, when there's just one project, when there's just one paper. And I can imagine that happening today. Students are going to go straight to AI if they can. And I think this certainly applies to the situation that we are all currently living. The second thing that Jim found is that students tend to cheat when they don't know why they are doing something. They don't know why they're doing the project. They don't know why they're doing the homework. And when they don't have a clear understanding of the purpose, they're just going to chase points. And when they chase points, they're not really worried about learning. They're just trying to get things completed. And currently, AI can complete most of the work that we ask our students to do. I teach STEM classes. There are AIs out there that can do every equation that I would ever ask a student to do. So I got to make sure that we talk about the why so that the students don't rely on that AI. They figure out how to do it themselves. The third reason that students cheat, I am seeing more and more underprepared students, students that might not have all of the math skills. For some of you, they might not have all of the writing or reading skills. When students have low confidence in themselves, um, they know they got to pass, they know they got to get through. And currently, AI can do a lot of things that they need to turn in. And they might turn to that AI because they don't know what else to do. So again, I think this still applies perfectly. And then the fourth reason that students tend to cheat is anytime the course grade system values the grade, the capturing of the points over actual student growth. The students can figure out real quickly when our classes are just about accumulating points and not actually learning. My ex-wife was actually a brilliant strategist when it came to this in college. She knew exactly what she needed to get an A in each class, and she would shoot for 91% in absolutely every class. And she was exceptional at gaming the system. And our kids can figure out when the course values those grades over growth, and they're going to do whatever they can to get the points that they want. So these are Jim's four conclusions. And I hope you can see that with AI, it is just one more tool that the students can lean on instead of actually doing the work of learning. But there is new research that suggests there might be a fifth reason that students are actually using AI. This is the only reason that causes me to pull my hair out. I know for the rest of you, AI may be causing you headaches or concerns. Maybe you're as excited as I am about AI. I use it, as Bob says, as a writing partner, as a brainstormer. Um, but the way that students are using AI that is causing me concern is there's new research that suggests that peer pressure is causing students to use AI in their classes. Their friends are using it, so they feel like they got to use it. And for me, this is disconcerting because I've been using peer pressure to get students to do the work for 20 years. I show them in class that when they do the work, they reap the benefits. I've been using peer pressure in class. Hey, your neighbor's been studying hard. They've gotten a good grade. Follow their example. And now if peer pressure is leading students to use AI instead, this is certainly something that's causing me to lose a little bit of sleep at night. And then today we're going to try to figure out what we can do to actually think about change. And that's what I think is exciting about the time that we're living in. If teaching was stagnant, it would be boring. I am always updating my classes for a variety of reasons. Now we've got some impetus and some reasons for those updates. Um, and one of the things that I want to do today is to remind you that you are the conductor of your classroom. You are the one in charge of your classroom. And I think that's exciting because that means that you and I, we can actually figure out some changes. We can actually make some adjustments to our classes, maybe the structure, maybe how we run things, maybe how we interact with the students in class. We can actually figure out some reasonable change here to make sure that the students are doing the work. They are the ones earning their degrees. And that's what I would like to talk about today. Our outline for this session um, is here. We're going to start with my favorite strategy. I think there's one thing that you can do that works almost every time. I know it's not going to work for everybody, but we'll have some suggestions for you. And then we'll get into performance tasks. Many of you might know that as projects. And then we'll explain and discuss a few different ways how we can actually get those performance tasks to work a little better for us by discussing start with the why, grading more process, and then we'll end with uniquely human skills, um, which may or may not be the best place for us to go. Apologize for that. Um, every time I talk to faculty and they're worried about AI, I remind them about the classroom. I'm very fortunate. All of my classes are seated. I have 30 or less in every class. I usually average 25 or so. So this classroom looks very, very much like the scenario that I get to teach in. I understand many of you are hybrid or online, and that represents some additional challenges. But if you have the opportunity to get students in a classroom, I think it is the best place for assessment. It is the only place that I know that I have full control over the resources that the students have, right? I can tell them to put their phones away. I can tell them to put their laptops away. I can tell them to put their smartwatches away. And, in a classroom of, 300, maybe it requires a monitor or two in addition to yourself for test day or exam day. But you can make sure that those digital resources are put at bay. So for me, the number one strategy to avoid AI and to make sure we know exactly what students are doing is the old school seated in class paper and pencil exam. On my campus, I know there are plenty of folks that are doing electronic exams. They're seated, but the kids bring their laptop. They still have access to AI and they are still using it to circumvent the system. So I've gone back to paper and pencil exams, and I really like to have them in class because I have full control over the resources that the students have, right? And that's what I want to come back to over and over today. When it comes to major assessments, when you are trying to figure out what the students learn, you want to make sure you have as much control over the situation as you possibly can. And then ideally, we want to make sure that it's not just one exam. We don't want it to be high stress. We want it to be 4 or 5 seated exams. We want to make sure we avoid Lang's first concern, which was too high stakes. We want to make sure that we give students opportunities for a little leeway. In my classes that I have 5 exams, I actually drop one exam. For the classes with 4, I double count their highest exam score. Again, a little bit of flexibility there to bring down the stress associated with exams. But for me, it is the only way that I know that an individual can do the work that I need them to do in my particular classes. And I understand I'm STEM. There's an awful lot of math problems that I can do, but I do teach introductory courses to environmental engineering and sustainability. I have many exams that have no math in them at all, and they are essentially short answer or essay or tests where I have students draw drawings and diagrams, um, and they work for a wide variety of contexts. Now, if you don't currently do this number of exams, maybe you got one exam or maybe you got a midterm and a final, going to 4 or 5 exams might sound like a lot, but I think it helps both student and professor. On the student side, we get to break things up, right? There's not as many topics on the exams. On the faculty side, I actually get to ask more questions because I'm asking twice as many exams. I get to test on more topics. So I actually get to know a little more about what the students can actually do. And if you're transitioning into this format where all of the emphasis, all of the assessment is on the exams, you will likely have to do something. You likely have to shift how much your homework percentage is. I've been very lucky. I started out 20 years ago, and I happen to fall in the 10 to 15, 10 to 20% homework range really early on. I have colleagues here in engineering that are at 30 or 40%, and they're finding that kids are using AI to game the system, and kids are passing the classes with really bad exam scores and really high homework percentages. So I suggest pushing that homework percentage down. Um, and then if you do this, you really do need to make sure you explain to the students what the purpose of that homework happens to be. All right, you got to be very explicit. You got to tell them what the role of homework is. For me, I actually don't even call things homework problems anymore. I call them practice problems or opportunities to learn. Um, for me, homework is all about practice, and I grade it as such. I grade it based on effort. I don't grade it on correctness. And as soon as I don't grade on correctness, I get more students doing the work on their homework. When they're not freaked out about getting the correct answer, they are less likely to use AI. So make sure that you have a conversation with your students about what that homework really means. And then if you're teaching first or second year students, you really need to have this conversation because in high school, they essentially earned all of their grades by doing daily homework. They accumulated points and that's how they passed classes. And at the college level, the homework is there for practice, it's there for learning. But I strongly urge you to put as many points as you can on those exams because that's when you truly know the work that the students can actually do. Now, to make sure that I show students the value of that work, I make sure that in class, most days, we're doing something. The kids are doing problems, the kids are thinking, the kids are having conversations. They're doing something in class to show them the value of doing the work. Hopefully, that gets them to do more of the homework. In class, they don't have resources most of the time. On occasion, we'll ask them to pull out AI if it's something that I know they can't do on their own. Um, and then for me, I've been doing this so long, I don't even need to make this low stakes. I don't have to have any points associated with these activities. The students just do them. But I know if you're doing this for the first time, and I know some of you on campuses have students that tend to just show up to lecture and don't expect to do anything. Um, there are some things that you can do for these in-class activities. All you got to do is rename them. As soon as you call something an in-class group assignment or an in-class quiz, you'll be amazed at the number of students that will start working together, start completing your activity, start figuring out that the work that they do is meaningful. And after you do the in-class group assignment or in-class group quiz a few times, and you convince the students that doing some work in class is valuable, you'll have to, or you'll be able to stop doing, um, stop rewarding the points and hopefully just move on to group activities. And then recently I've used AI to help me with some advertising when it comes to doing the work. I've had ChatGPT make me a few memes. And it's just a reminder to the students, right? If they want to actually get better at whatever class it happens to be, they got to do the hard work. On my campus, 60 or 70% of the students are athletes. So a meme like this tends to work really, really well. But we got others. This one resonates well with many of our faculty here. And then I hope you notice there are some errors in the graphics here. We've got a door to nowhere. These were generated last year. If I were to do this today, the AI would be perfect and certainly wouldn't have a door to nowhere. All right, and then I've been talking about all the work that I put in to convince the students that they got to do some work. But honestly, the thing that probably has worked best for me is to move exam review days into the classroom. I used to do these at night, but only the A and the B plus students would show up, even if I bribed them with good baked goods. I've moved exam reviews days for every class to the day before the exam. So before every exam in every class, there is an exam review day. I walk in, hand them at least two old exams, reorganize them a bit. And I tell the students that their work today, they get to use their brain, their neighbor's brain, but they got to make sure they put their notes away. And to be honest, it's probably the day that they actually learn the most, and it prepares most students really well for the exam. All right, so we just talked about in-person exams. We just talked about a little bit of scaffolding, all the work that can be done to help students prepare for those exams. And I want to make sure that we've addressed each of Lang's issues. We've taken care of the high stakes. It's not one or two major exams, four or five to reduce that stress a little bit. The low confidence, we're building uh, success by doing activities in class. We're doing exam review days. We're helping students make sure they can prepare for that exam. Um, so hopefully we've taken care of some low confidence. Don't know the why. We haven't exactly talked about the why yet, but hopefully you can see a little bit of why in explaining part of the grade system to the students, right? We're assessing you with exams because we want to know what you can do without the aid of external support. We really want to know what you are capable of. So there's a little bit of why in there. And then for me, the system valuing grades part here, when it comes to homework, again, I don't grade correct answers. I grade effort, and I know that's a little different. Many of you likely grade for correctness on homework. I highly recommend that you investigate a few different grading strategies. You might find one that is a little more not student friendly, but something that might be a little more palatable to students if you do head towards more and more exams. All right, you'll notice I talked about exams, and I know they work for me, and I know they don't work for all of you. So we do have a question for you. Um, I know not all of you can do exams, but we would love for you to take some time, take a moment and think, is there something that you do outside of class that's a major summative assessment that you could bring back to the classroom? Um, so if you're watching this on video, I urge you to hit pause. I do recognize we do have some folks live here today, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna just march on. On the next slide, I do have some suggestions that I've gathered over the last year. These are things that folks are doing on my campus and things are doing across the country. Many of these you can apply to any scenario. The live debate and role play scenario you'll see a couple of times today. Going back to oral exams if your class numbers aren't too large. I've got a stepdaughter that's in the dental hygiene program, so they do things that look like grand rounds quite a bit. And I'm sure you can use AI to help you figure out how that might apply to your own classes. And then for me, the second to last one here, station challenges for problem solving. My wife tells me over and over again that exams aren't real world. Nobody ever does an exam after they leave college. So this is the one that I'm thinking about moving to. Maybe every 2 weeks, I set up one problem that students have to work through themselves. But it's not a place that I've migrated to yet. And then I also like the last one here, having the students discuss demos or prototypes without computers, without tech, some low tech version where they have to talk about concepts and applications. Anytime we can get the students talking is a great way to go about this. And then again, I apologize if you are a writing professor. Um, you can bring writing back into the classroom. I don't know what you can get accomplished in 30, 50, or an hour or so. But I apologize for those teaching writing. Um, I don't have great suggestions for you just yet. Fortunately, there are folks working on this around the country for you, and I hope you guys get some good answers soon. I'm on a committee with two of our writing professors, and AI has increased their workload 25% or so. So good luck for those of you in that writing specific world. For the rest of us, I think there's something we can bring back to the classroom. And the reason I love bringing it back to the classroom is because we have full control over the situation and we know the students aren't using external resources. All right, all of the last information is brought from you from one of my favorite books, Make It Stick. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend. It's a pretty quick read, and they do an exceptional job talking about the best ways to help students actually learn your course content. All right, now I want to shift to projects and performance tasks. Depending on what world you live in, these can be called a variety of different things. Some folks call these performance tasks, others call these project-based assessment. Um, Whatever term you use, we love them because they require students to apply what they know in situations that are more realistic than an exam situation. All right, we love these because many times we can come up with something that looks a whole lot more authentic than the exam. All right, and we love them because hopefully we can assess some real world skills. All right, when it comes to performance tasks, this is not the exhaustive list, but this is a list of things that many of my colleagues use. So this is where we're going to start today. And then one of the things I would love for you to do is compare and contrast the items on the left column and the items on the right column. And I'd really love for you to pick up any differences that you might see. All right, for me, the items on the left are a little more AI resistant. I think the items on the right, papers, reports, memos, analysis, posters, and infographics, are something that AI can do really, really well right now. If you haven't asked AI to do your project, that's a paper, report, or memo, I highly recommend that you do. You'll be shocked at the quality. Without much effort, I can probably get an A plus on most of your papers, reports, and memos using Claude, and Claude isn't even the best AI for this type of thing. The items on the left, again, a little more AI resistant. Notice I'm not going to say AI proof today. The only thing that I think is AI proof is something that is in the actual classroom. And generally for our performance tasks, students have an awful lot of leeway outside of classroom. AI is getting better with presentations, videos, portfolios. But as long as you ask your students to include themselves in the video, this is a great way to see what the students themselves understand. You noticed earlier we had debates and mock scenarios. They come up here again. This is a great way. Anytime we can get our students explaining in their own words, it is a great way to figure out what they actually know. Now, that's where I want to close as the introduction to performance tasks today. If any of those things looked interesting to you, or if this is new to you, these are two great resources. The Authentic Assessment by Fisher and King has a ton of great resources, and Jay McTee has a really good blog series if you would love more information just in general about how to pull off some of these projects as major assessments. What I want to focus on today is how to do these major assessments in such a way that the students use AI a little less. All right, so maybe a little more AI resistant. And the first strategy is to start with the why. This was one of the big concerns for Jim Lang when it came to students cheating. When they don't know why they're doing something, they're going to pawn it off on something else. And for your projects, for your performance tasks where they don't understand why they're doing it, they are 100% going to push that off to AI, especially because AI does such a good job on most of our topics these days. Now, when it comes to the why, there's an awful lot of things that you can do, that you can say to help show the students the purpose of your projects, of your performance tasks. And if you can align your project with something that the students care about, it's going to go a long way. So our graphic here represents Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you can ever tie your project to something that is either a goal that your student has or a need that the student has, you're going to do really, really well. So one of the things that I'm able to do in environmental engineering is that I get to ask students to investigate their hometown. Um, as soon as they learn about the pollution in their hometown, it gives them a little consternation. But then in the next project, we get to ask them to help fix that contamination. And when they think about making their hometown a little better, um, it is really easy to get some buy-in. So if you can help any part of your students' needs or goals, this is a great way to get them to buy in. And this is often one of the harder things for my colleagues here in engineering to understand. Many of them think, well, hey, the student picked electrical engineering. Don't they know the goal of electrical engineering? Don't they know the goal of this class? Right? It's to become an electrical engineer. They should just know that this project is worthwhile and meaningful for them. And I got to remind my colleagues that you and I have lived experience that is orders of magnitude beyond our students. Most of our students barely know about the careers that they are stepping into. Most of our students don't understand how they get from where they are to where they need to be. You and I are the ones with that experience. So it's our job to show the students how we're going to help them with that progression. The second thing that you can do when it comes to helping with the why is to make sure that whatever your project is, whatever the performance task is, it aligns with something the students need in the future. All right. Does your project help them with their resume? Does your project help them with the next class? Is your project something they can include on their resume that will make them look better to future employers? Whatever it is, if you can tie your project to something that will help the students in the future, it's going to go a long way to making sure that the students do the work themselves and pawn a little less off on to AI. And then the third way that you can help with the why, help with the purpose, it's not something everybody gets to do. Um, if you can show students just how cool the project is, it can do wonders. My problem is I teach classes about wastewater treatment, and pee and poop is not the coolest topic. So for me, it's a little challenging sometimes to show everyone just how cool the subject happens to be. But I imagine for some of you, there are some great ways that you can actually showcase just how cool the topic happens to be. I also serve on a committee with a gentleman that teaches our film appreciation class, and he does an exceptional job showing students just how cool some of the things they get to do happen to be. And I'm really quite jealous once in a while when he shows the buy-in that his students have for his projects. So again, I hope you happen to be in one of those fields, in one of those classes where there is just some really interesting stuff. Make sure you play it up as best you can. All right, so the question we have for you to reflect on, if you've got some time in the future, again, if you're watching on video, press pause. For those of you watching live, um, hopefully you can think about this question in a few minutes or so. How do you currently help students see the purpose behind one of your major out-of-class assessments? All right, I always like to start with what you're doing now because you're all doing good things. Maybe we just need to build on what you're doing. So we would love for you to think about what are you currently doing that is showing students the why. Again, we want to make sure you recognize that you are doing something positive. All right, but we can always make things better. And again, um, the handout that I alluded to on the first or second slide has some good resources. There are some AI prompts that can help you come up with some good ideas of how to show students the why it matters how it can help them with future success, or just to showcase how cool your topic happens to be. So please take a look at that when you get the chance. And all of those ideas, oh, yeah, okay, excellent. All right, the second thing that we can do to help make our performance tasks and our projects a little less AI and a little more student is to add some process to the items that we grade. I know most projects, not all, I should say. I know many projects are handed out on day one and graded on day 30, and there isn't much interaction between the faculty and the student, between the assignment and when things are turned in. And one of the things we can do to help reduce how much AI the students use is to try to shift some of our actual grading to the process and not to the finished project. I do teach one class that is primarily project-based, and I must admit, this is where I've been for the last 10 years or so. I haven't graded much process previously. It is what I am currently implementing this year. When it comes to the process, we have to make sure we build that into our project. We have to make sure we build that into our workflow. This is our little bit to help students scaffold their project. This is our little bit to help students work better as groups, if this happens to be a group project. And then when it comes to process, there is an awful lot of things that we can ask for. And depending on the type of project that you do, the type of performance task that you've assigned, one or more of these things may work better for you. But as you peruse this list, you'll notice that AI can do many of these things. All right, AI is exceptional with outlines. It's getting really good at mind maps. It's really, really good at drafts. So we need to ask for the comments and the edits, and then AI can write those reflection memos as well. So one of the things we have to recognize here is that even this process-focused work is something that the AI can do. So my suggestion is to add one additional layer. And the layer here is to ask for process-driven work that happens to be handwritten. Don't even tempt the students to use AI, right? Make sure they're sitting down with their group with some paper and pencil, some scratch paper. Ask for the dirty first draft. Ask for the jumbled original outline. Ask for something that's not perfectly clean. Because what we want to see here is the students' thinking, the students' organization, the students' ideas. And as soon as we get that computer out of the way and we put the pencil and paper in the students' hands, we can really see some of the things that they're thinking. And then going back to the first part of our presentation today, if you can bring some of this work back into the classroom, sorry about that, maybe you give the students 25 minutes in one of your class periods to do an outline, to do some of this handwritten process work, that might go even further. Now, the question that we've got here, is there anything that you currently do with your projects or your performance tasks where you ask the students to show the work behind their finished project? Again, if you're watching on video, press stop, take a few minutes. For those of you live today, hopefully you can think about this in a few minutes. And again, if you think you need to do a better job when it comes to process, there are some suggestions on the handout, some AI prompts. There are some really easy things that you can do to add process to your project. I do want to highlight one caveat. Jason Gulia of Berkeley College, he's really prominent on LinkedIn, and he's really doing a good job discussing AI on a daily basis. He came out with a post this week and said, hey, I've been doing process-driven work in my writing class all year. He said, it works really well if you believe in the process and you grade the process, and the process is what you care about. And he said, if you're including process-driven work as part of your project just to eliminate the AI, the kids are going to figure that out and they're going to find some workarounds. So you got to be very careful here. If this process-driven work is the route you want to go, you got to make sure that part of the process you're grading is something that you show real interest in. You got to actually grade it quickly. You can't let it just sit there as something that the kids turned in and then grade the final project. You really got to show the students that this process is something that you care about. Otherwise, they're going to circumvent the system once again. And all these ideas come from Teaching with AI from Bowen and Watson. I've been fortunate enough to actually have dinner with Jose and get to listen to Eddie Watson at Plenary. And then I know Jose is coming out with another book this summer. I can't wait. It's also going to be about AI, and hopefully he'll have even more ways to figure out how to get our students to do more of the work, particularly when it comes to projects and performance tasks. All right, I have a minute or two left, and I want to finish here with trying to think about grading a few distinctive human skills. This sounds like a great idea, and we have some friends at Oregon State University that did redo our Bloom's taxonomy for us. I'm not going to spend too much time in this slide. There is a link in the handout if you want to go visit this yourself. But what I do want to do is highlight two of their suggestions just to get you to think about whether or not this might be something that would work for you to help reduce AI. And the first suggestion on the blooms of something that only humans can do is evaluate actions within context, such as historical pressures, cultural expectations, or stakeholder priorities. I teach an engineering ethics section of my sustainability class. The incident here on the slide happened recently. It's something we've talked about in class. And AI does an exceptional job talking about stakeholder priorities. And AI does an exceptional job talking about things from multiple cultural expectations. So while it sounds like it's something that you might be able to add to your project to get some human flavored work, with very little effort, your students can get AI to do those things for them. And then the other example for how to try to get some human work in your projects is to add some creativity or imagination items. But as Bob discussed right before this session started, he uses it as a brainstorming partner, and so do I. I have the ADHD that is a little less imaginative than others, so I actually use AI as a creative partner. So whether or not this is something you want to add to your project to make it AI resistant or not is something that you're going to have to figure out for yourself. But adding these human elements for me has not been nearly as productive as I thought it would be a year ago when I started to bring all of these ideas together. All right, and that brings us to the question that I want you to ponder a little longer than most today. We've talked about major assessments, verifying that students can actually do the work. And the question we want to lead with today is, how do you plan to verify that the students are actually doing some work in your classes, that the students are actually doing the learning? For me, it is in-class exams as often as possible. And then I'm trying my best to modify my projects to make sure that the students are doing more of the work and I can verify that work as best I can. Again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you again for Bob for hosting this conference for the 18th year. It's so impressive. Again, the handout has some extra resources. The UR code here will take you there. So will the QR code. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope your weather starts to pick up. I can finally see the asphalt here in Indiana.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Hey, here it's been in the 70s.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know, t-shirt and shorts in February. Who would have thought? Anyway, Jeremy, there's excellent, lots of good resources. As always, you do a fine job and I appreciate it.
Excellent. All right. Have a great day, sir.